Jordan, and I'm the first vice chair of Community Board 2. And Mr. Singletary, as Ms. Paris said, Mr. Singletary will be a little late today. We're going to get started. Let's, I guess, the committee, if you want to introduce yourselves. I introduced myself already, so the committee chairs or vice chairs. Let's start. Go around. Betty.
Hi, I'm Betty Freibush, Youth Education Cultural Shares.
Okay. Irene.
Yes, I'm Irene Janner, co-chair of Landmarks Land Use.
Okay.
No such committee.
And Carlton Gordon, Chair of Landmarks Land Use.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith?
Smith,
I'm
representing.
sorry, Mr. Brendan Smith. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's been made clear before. Dwight is Mr. Smith. I am Brandon.
Okay.
Our old chair, Miss McCrae, made that very clear to me.
Okay.
So I will always, I'll always defer to Mr. Smith, but I'll introduce myself. I'm Brandon Smith. I'm the chair of Health, Environment, and Social Services.
Okay. Thank you. Cheryl. Just going by the name I see there.
Cheryl Gibbs, Vice Chair of Transportation and Public Safety.
Okay. Mr. Smith.
The other Smith, I'm representing the board on the Atlantic Yards Pacific Park Quality of Life committees.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Thurston.
Hi, I'm Jessica Thurston. I'm the secretary.
Okay. Ms. Cullen Chung.
Hi, Juliet Cullen Chung, Chair of Transportation and Public Safety.
Okay. Mr. Paris is, I guess you've introduced yourself, right, Ms. Paris? Have you? Okay. Do we have any other chairs or co-chairs that I have missed?
Barbara.
Yes.
Where's Barbara? I'm sorry, Barbara, I keep looking at Martin and I get confused there. Go ahead. Go ahead, Barbara.
Maybe I should introduce myself as Mrs. Martin Gringer.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. This is Barbara Zoller Gringer. I'm the second vice chair of the board and also the co-chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other chairs or co-chairs that I've missed?
Andrew.
Sorry, Mr. Lastawecki.
Hi, Andrew Lastawecki here,
Okay, thank you. And your committee, Mr. Lastawecki?
co-chair with Barbara, with
Okay.
Martin.
Okay, all right. Anybody else that I've missed as far as the chairs and co-chairs? All right. Has everybody looked at the agenda?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, can I get approval? Motion to approve?
Motion.
Ms. Fibrous, second.
Second.
Okay.
I have an item of discussion.
Yes.
There was one of our liquor licenses is not on the agenda for tonight's meeting. I wanted to add that to tonight's meeting. It's 121 Bridge Park Drive, Brooklyn Bridge Park Cafe, Inc.
Okay, all right, so that's in addition to the agenda. Okay, so Ms. Fibrous, would you include that in your motion?
I include
Okay.
that in the motion.
Okay, and seconded by Mrs. Zella Gringa. And all in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now the minutes for October 26th. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah.
The executive committee minutes for October 26th. Are there any corrections? Any additions, deletions?
I submitted some to the district office.
Pardon me, Ms. Zelagringa. So thank you so much. Any others? Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll start with committees for action. Health, Environment, and Social Services. That's Mr.
Mr. Jordan,
Adjourn.
do you want to take a ask for a motion to approve? We can approve them by consensus, but
Okay, I thought usually with the minutes that we do approve them by consensus. Do we usually vote for the minutes?
we can do by consensus. That's fine, but I just want to
Yeah.
make sure we call for that.
Yes. So we'll just approve it by consensus.
Okay.
I mean, I don't recall us making a motion.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, you can have the minutes read that we approve it by consensus. Thanks a lot, Ms. Thurston. Okay, so committees for action: the Health, Environment, and Social Services Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. I'm happy to take
Brandon
it.
Smith. Okay.
So we had 4 liquor licenses at our November meeting. There was no community objections or oppositions presented for any of the 4 liquor licenses, but I'll go through each one of them here.
Okay.
First location, 57 Front Street, EM Dumbo. This is a location for a Vietnamese restaurant. They're going for a full on-premise liquor license, background music only. They're going to be open until 9 p.m. Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. Friday through Sunday. We encourage them to hire locally, and we confirm that they've spoken with their nearby residents and there were no concerns expressed. The motion was approved 7-0-0. Secondly, we had 673 Atlantic Avenue, which is which is entitled the Simpson Restaurant. This is going to be a Caribbean and soul food restaurant, and it's going to be open 11 a.m. to 12 midnight Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. This is going to have background music and occasional live music and private parties at this location. We asked about exposure to nearby residential housing, and they've spoken with the nearby residents above and across the street, and no concerns were expressed. We had some discussion because this was apparently going to be a pretty big restaurant about the level of security that they were going to have. The representative indicated that he had previously worked as a executive chef at BB King's, where he was familiar with having security. And just to put it in scale, they were going to have like 1 or 2 security officers where the total capacity was around 200 people. But I think with his level of experience and the fact that he indicated it wasn't expected to be full most of the time, they indicated they were going to employ 25 to 30 people. We made a motion and approved it 7-0-0. Thirdly, this is the one that got added onto the agenda. It's 121 Bridge Park Drive, Brooklyn Bridge Park Cafe, Inc. This is a full on-premise application for it appears to be it appears to be a cafe here in the park. It's going to be near Pier 6, and they're going to be open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. There's an outdoor area with seating out in front with view of the water. We anticipate opening end of January or early February, though they weren't sure if it was going to be delayed. They indicated that they were making an effort to meet with local residents once they get on site when they begin the project, and they're open. I think I mentioned it 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day of the week. So we had a motion approved on that one 7-0-0. Then finally, we've got Jennifer Bistro located at 229 Livingston Street. This is a location they're going to have kind of finger foods and liquor. The hours are 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m. Saturday, and 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. it never struck my attention at the committee, but I figured it out afterwards that this is actually located in the current Jennifer Furniture store there on Livingston and Elm, and now it's going to be the Jennifer Bistro. I don't know if they have a connection, but we verified that they had ADA equipment to facilitate people getting in and out. They indicated there's going to be a special elevator there. I think if you know the location, it's kind of like downstairs. And they're going to hire about 50. They're going to hire about 10 people. Their capacity is about 55 to 60. No outdoor space. And the applicant had managed 4 or 5 prior restaurants. He never had a prior issue with noise or any other concern. This one, we had a motion to approve by a margin of 5-0 with 2 abstentions. So those are the 4 items that we had, and again, they were all either unanimous or with a couple abstentions, and there were no community concerns expressed.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Smith. I'm going to call you Mr. Brandon Smith. Okay. So there's a motion. Are you making a motion to approve these?
Sure. I make a motion to approve all of these items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Gordon is second, and now this is open for discussion and questions. Any questions from the committee? Yes, Ms. Quinn.
Thank you for recognizing me. Just with the one that's in Brooklyn Bridge Park, because I noted it wasn't on the agenda that went out to the community for this meeting. Was it on the public agenda for the committee meeting so that community members would have known to come forward?
Yeah.
It was on that. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
It's on the agenda. Yeah, it was on the agenda. We got it. Yeah.
And let me, I guess, correct myself. So thank you very much, Ms. Quint. But I should have asked for the questions from the committee first, and then if there's any other questions. So that's all right, Ms. Quint. I didn't see any other committee members. Any other members of the committee that have a question or concern? Okay, no questions or concern. Is any other questions from those that are in attendance? Okay, if not, hearing none, the motion has been made and duly seconded. All those in favor, just the committee members, the chairs, and the co-chairs if the chair is not here. Okay, 1, 2. Ms. Thurston, are you seeing the hands?
I am, but I did want to ask Mr. Singletary how he votes.
Oh, Mr. Singletary's here. Okay.
He is, but he is on mute and might. Oh, there.
Mr. Singletary is in favor and support.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good to go. I got everyone.
Okay, very good. So the next committee would be land use, but since Mr. Singletary is here, sorry, Mr. Singletary, I didn't see you. I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. I appreciate you kicking the meeting off in my absence. And even though I wasn't here, I know you did a fantastic job. So thank you. Next committee to report on is land use. Mr. Gordon, are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you. What I'd like to do, since the first and third items are for board approval, I'd like to do those briefly so that we can just make a quick discussion and then do the landmark preservation application, which will then be voted by the executive committee. So first, let's keep it in order anyway, is the moment. There we go. Yes. Okay, we had a we did briefly have a application for 69, a ULURP application for 69 Adams Street, which is it's a city-owned property under the Manhattan Bridge, which is considered in Dumbo. The application was to build a large building about 26, 28 stories with both commercial and residential units. Be a big property there. And generally speaking, while there was some approval by some of the bigger name peoples, there was generally no support from community members, people who testified, and our committee voted unanimously to reject the application. Our biggest concern there was that once this property is built, this would put much greater pressures on the York Street F train station. People who are familiar, and I have climbed out of the York Street F train station, which has only one exit entrance, and I've climbed out of there, especially during daytime business hours, and it's really, really difficult. And that was one of the biggest concerns, and just a general concern of people in the community in Dumbo who were very concerned that this property would put so much pressure on the community. So our committee rejected it unanimously, and that one's going to go to the full board. The other item that's going to the full board is the zoning for coastal flood resiliency, which was proposed by the Department of City Planning. We approved this one 10-0, 2 abstentions. Basically, what that's about is the concern is the coastal areas, especially in Dumbo, have been vulnerable to flooding. In fact, Dumbo did flood during the last big hurricane that we had, and there was also some flooding damage over at the Navy Yard. And what the Department of City Planning came up with was to try to come up with, propose additional ways that people who are building and have buildings along these coastal areas, especially here along the East River and Wallabout Bay, but mainly the East River, is that they would be able to build, let's say, instead of just putting all the mechanicals on the ground floor or the basement as you normally would, they'd be able to go upstairs, up further. There would be more ways for people to build around these things so that you don't have flooding the next big hurricane or big storm that may come up. So we listened to them. They had, it's a sound proposal. It's not a full requirement, but it is a way for future buildings and future construction to avoid the flooding, especially in Dumbo. But this is it's a full citywide project, not just for our own district. And that was approved by us 10-0-2. I'm going to hop back to our Landmark Preservation Commission, and that's for your approval. This one is 18 Willoughby Avenue in the Fort Greene Historic District. The application was to replace the existing 1/1 windows at the front facade with 2/2 windows at the existing openings, and at what I have here, yes, yeah. And at the rear facade to install new windows and doors in the existing and modified openings, removing some existing brick and installing new brick, relocating doors at the parlor second floors, and installing new doors at the third floor. The new doors at the third floor. The applicant was anticipating LPC staff approval for ironwork from work that was going to be replacing the rear at the rear facade. This one we approved unanimously 11-0-0. It was a nicely done application, basically to redo the brickwork, which was starting to get a little old and deteriorated, and then moving the windows around. It was done in an orderly fashion. It was very nicely done. They're doing some work in the back as well, but they're not extending it any extensions. However, we were concerned that they would that they should notify their neighbors, and they said that they would notify neighbors. We liked the work. We approved it 11-0-0, and we asked for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Let me ask, are there any objections to approving the entire presentation, or are there items that people would prefer to have called out and do a separate vote? All right, so we'll do this all together.
Excuse
I'll
me.
entertain a motion. Yes, Martin.
I was unmuting myself. I do have a question. Up until this meeting, the executive board has been acting on behalf of the full board. The way Carlton presented this tonight was that these two issues would be going to the full board. So I just wanted to, you seem to now be putting the three of them together for a vote tonight. So first, I just wanted to clarify that. And my other question is, I was at most of the public hearing the other night on this, on the 69 Adams issue, and I was wondering if, so I didn't hear the discussion at the committee level, but I was wondering if committee members would have been in favor of the building had there been no commercial. It would have been as of right, without the commercial, so it wouldn't have even been before the committee.
Yes, on the
right.
Yeah, okay, yeah, Barbara. No, I think the general there was a general dislike for the proposal, commercial and residential, or just the residential, the as of right, or the additional that they were asking for under the Euler application. There was a generally, almost every, like I said, almost every non-bigwig person who testified against it. The committee did not like it. It's very large, and the biggest concern again is the pressure that this building would place, and especially at the size of it, would place on the local transit and the community as a whole. So it was generally disliked. The only thing that, to get back to your first point, the only thing that I'm asking for, or the committee's asking for, of course, is approval of the 18 Willoughby. The other items are going to go to the full board. I just brought them up as discussion to report to the executive committee our decisions, but you guys are not going to make the decision at this point. The board's going to make the decision on the zoning and the 69 Adams Street.
69 Adams is a ULURP, so it would have to be individual voting.
That has to be done. Yeah, it's going to be a little
roll call.
Usually it's the roll call. Yeah, we're going to have to figure out.
Listen, hold on. I'm sorry. Let me jump in. We're not going to hash that out now. We know how it works.
Yeah, you have to figure that out.
Let me bring us back to getting us on track, because I don't want to get us off track. That's one. Number two, thank you, Barbara and Carlton, for reminding me that we do have a full board meeting in December, because I forgot that. So now that I'm back, we're all on track. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation for 18 Willoughby Avenue. Betty, can I get a second? Second, Mr. Jordan. Is there any discussion on the motion for 18 Willoughby Avenue? Hearing none, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Item number 5, committees to report. Economic Development and Employment. All right, so I'm gonna say that one more time. Committees to report: Economic Development and Employment. Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Singletary. We met on November 16th, and we were delighted to have from the Borough President's Office the capital budget director, Candace Julian. She gave us an overview of the process of handling the funds that the borough president has from the city, and that would cover the parks. And she suggested that we work with the Brooklyn Parks Commissioner, Marty Marr, on issues that we are specifically interested in, and that he meets with the borough president to discuss priorities for the parks. And so it was very good to have her. I had asked, we all had opportunity to ask questions. I in particular was interested in the frustration we frequently experience because of the length of time that parks capital projects take to be finished. And at the present time, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any way to get around that. I did want to mention that the Photoville exhibit that we have featured before is still up to the end of the month if you haven't seen it. Council Member Levin is conducting his participatory budgeting for those in his district. And our next meeting will be a joint meeting on December 7th, I believe it is, that Monday, with the YACA committee and discussing the statute in Columbus Park. Any questions? If not, I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving and a safe Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be a little different this year for most of us. And just so you know, I don't believe I've ever before, and probably never will again, introduce myself as Mrs. Martin Gringer. Thank you.
Okay. Transportation and Public Safety, Juliet.
Hi, everybody. We met on Thursday of last week. The presenter was Anne Marie Lewison from the Center for Alternative Sentencing Employment Cases. They are, as is in the title, an alternative to incarceration program that works with young offenders, with the mentally challenged, and broader array of inmates. They have been working since 1960. They work as through a referral system from defense attorneys in Manhattan, although they serve Brooklyn clients, and they're located in downtown Brooklyn. Carol Ann was kind enough to identify them and did the outreach to bring them to our committee. So they talked to us about all of their interesting programs, and our committee had a good discussion with them. We talked to them about the differences between their program and the community court system that Brandon had educated us on in a previous committee meeting. She did express concern about such issues as the closing of Rikers, now that the city budget is lower because of COVID. And also, we talked about homelessness as a public safety concern. So I know that the HES committee is having a CAMBA come to their, a not-for-profit that does deal with issues of homelessness and housing, come to their committee meeting in January. And we were thinking perhaps to see if we could do a joint committee with you guys on that day. So that's something to discuss. We also brought up in other business, our many committee members are finding it difficult to log in via Webex. And we are aware that other community boards have been using Zoom as a platform to host public meetings. And we would like the executive committee to consider, and our chair and district manager to consider possibly switching over to Zoom, which is a little bit more user-friendly. And people have been gaining more experience in that platform over these past several months. And that's it.
Thank you, Juliet. What I'll respond to is I'll go in reverse. But for Zoom, the current license we have doesn't accommodate, it has a limitation. And so the public license only gives you 40 minutes. So I'm sure while some people would appeal to a 40-minute meeting, particularly for transportation and public safety, that might be appealing. We don't have the luxury to do that right now. The board office and I have discussed this. We want to see if we can get the funds to purchase the license that would be more commercialized, that will allow for greater participation and not have the limitation. And so that's already in motion. Once we have that license, we'll look to use that as an alternative to the committees that may have continued difficulties with Webex. But I'm glad you raised that point. It is something that we discussed last week.
That is great. Taya did mention that the borough president may have made monies available for Zoom, though she can speak to that. That was mentioned in our meeting.
The key there is may have. I think the key is may have. But, you know, we have a process in place where we're going to try to pursue that. And so hopefully in short order, we will have a solution that will allow us to use both platforms, Webex and Zoom. So we'll take care of that. Any questions for the Transportation and Public Safety Committee? Great, thank you. Next
Mr.
committee
Singletary?
is Youth Education and Culture. I got you, Denise. Hold on.
Okay.
Next committee is Youth Education and Cultural Affairs. Betty?
Yeah, hi, everyone. I hope everyone has a delicious Thanksgiving. We all enjoy our food from our families and our cultures. Okay, so we have not had a meeting since I reported out last, but I was on a call today with the Brooklyn Public Library, and they really have an amazing array of programs that are virtual, which brings up of course, the digital divide and the many people that don't have access to the internet. But I think Teo will be able to send us more information about all the different programs that they have. Briefly, they're opening up some branches for like what they call grab and go. People put holds on books that they want, but they're doing it online. So some people don't have the technology or the ability to do that. The branches that are open for that are not in every community. We have the Central branch, and Adams Street is open for that. I'm not sure which others, but I'm sure that Taya will give us that information. And they're very open to serving the community, not just, we think of libraries as, well, you get books, but from everything from story time with toddlers to working with people on resumes, working with young people on college guidance. They do have quite an array of programs. So something everyone should look into, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Betty. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Any questions for Youth Education and Cultural Affairs Committee? Okay, great. Going back to the top of the fifth item, Economic Development and Employment, Denise Peterson.
Good evening, everyone. On Tuesday, the committee will be meeting, and we will have a presentation from the Brooklyn Navy Yard, Miss Regina, and we will also be resuming our efforts to, hopefully, if all things go well, we're targeting June to have a employment and community resource fair that we started a year ago. I had some preliminary conversation, and that's a targeted month. And we'll see as we go along, but we want to resume putting those pieces back together.
Thank you, Denise. Any questions? All right, great. Thank you. Yeah. The next item on the agenda is the chairperson's report. I don't have much of a report again tonight, but What I will ask is that, you know, as we get to a point where the city is starting to see an uptick in more COVID cases, I remind us again that let's be diligent, but let's be diligent in a way that doesn't jeopardize one's health or one's life. You know, in certain cases, you see where New Yorkers and citizens all around have been encouraging people to wear masks, but let's be judicious in that encouragement. I wouldn't want to see anyone be attacked or aggressively responded to for asking someone to wear a mask. If you feel the situation isn't beneficial and there's an opportunity to remove yourself from that situation because someone's not wearing a mask, let's err on the side of caution. I also ask that those who have no choice but to use public transportation, be careful as you're on the platforms. We're starting to see an uptick in individuals who need help and aren't able to get it, and so therefore they're acting in situations that are threatening to one's life. Additionally, but related, at least within our district, we're starting to see a greater population in our homeless neighbors, and so let's be mindful that, you know, winter is fast approaching. It's going to be cold. To the extent that we can do anything through 311, through any type of use of any city agency to aid the individuals that are less fortunate and actually are living on the street, let's be helpful and be mindful, supportive of them. And then last but not least, while this has been a year, depending on the lens that you have, that one could be considered, I've heard people use things like terrible and can't wait for the year to be over and all the case. You know, for me, we're still here. We're able to see each other. We're still active. We're still involved in the community. So being the glass half full kind of guy that I am, this year wasn't the worst that we've ever seen. And so I'm optimistic that we'll get through this like we've had for other issues. We'll continue to be a vigilant and a positive community, and we'll really be thankful this Thanksgiving if we haven't been in the past. So that's all I have. I'll pause for a minute if anybody has any questions of me. Hearing none, we'll move to item number 7, the district manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Singletary. And you know, the glass is always all full. It's full of water and it's full of air, but it's always full. The only new news that I have from since we last spoke is that the community board and the other 17 Brooklyn community boards have begun another audit by the controller's office. These happen every 3 years or so, sometimes a little bit longer. In recent years, they have focused on inventory control, but this audit is going to be on our compliance with the New York City Charter and the New York City Administrative Code requirements for public meetings and hearings and our website. We've just begun what will probably be around a 4-month process. And I want to publicly thank the staff for all of their support in pulling together the information and material that was requested at the outset of the audit. And that's the only thing I have to report since we last met.
Thank you, Rob. Any questions for the district manager from board members?
Yes, this is John.
John, hold on for board members. Yeah, you get to ask your questions at the next board meeting when this gets reported again. So hold on. Item number 8. Any other business? Juliet.
Hi, I just wanted to share briefly that I took a webinar that was offered by the Civic Engagement Commission for community board members and employees about how to deal with conflict. And it was really helpful, and I would recommend it for other members who would like to participate in that. They're doing a second session on December 7th, and then they're doing more workshops in January about how to have peaceful debates within a public setting. So I would recommend those if you have availability.
Thank you, Juliet. I echo Juliet's recommendation. We should all participate if we have the opportunity to do so. All right, item number 9, community forum. John Dew.
Yes. Thank you so much, Community Board 2. I had a few items. I just want to go over them, and then I'll mute myself. First is to follow up on the issue that Mr. Gordon presented about the York Street Station. If you recall, 15 or so years ago, we did this upzoning of all of downtown Brooklyn that came along with certain benefits that we were expecting to happen along with the upgrades in ability to build. Most of what they agreed to do has not been satisfied, and we don't know that it's even on the drawing table. One of those items includes the York Street Station. That station was supposed to be, frankly, upgraded. It is actually an old age station. It wasn't even built for pedestrians. It was more of a work kind of a station. The platform is extremely narrow, and it's certainly going to have great challenges accommodating the additional traffic that's coming from the burgeoning of the Dumbo district. Knowing that that's an MTA-related issue, they have to be called to task and made to address the York Street Station, as well as the other stations in the district that are not ADA compliant. That was discussed to happen along with all of the upzoning. So that's just something that's outstanding, and we don't hear anything about it. And it's becoming a problem, and it is largely why that particular ULURP failed, because that issue is not addressed. I should also add that the recent failing of the Industry City upzoning was blamed to a certain extent on what has not happened with the community benefits in Community District 2. Folks are aware of what was promised in Community District 2 that did not happen, and the train station ADA compliance is just one of them. Another item I wanted to bring up to the Executive Committee is the notice that went out about the closing of Fort Greene Park from the Community Board. That's a free speech item, and I don't understand why the Community Board should be participating in the quelling of public discussion. These meetings are happening primarily in downtown Brooklyn, in the Barclays Center, and to a certain degree in Fort Greene Park, where folks come together to talk. And somehow a decision was made to close Fort Greene Park, and I'm not clear who made that decision. I just know that it got to the Community Board, and the Community Board initially participated in it, and then the decision to close the park was reversed. I'm not quite sure who can call a Community Board and ask us to participate in restricting of free speech. That's it for tonight.
Thank you, John. Let me just answer the last question. And so, as is the case for the Community Board, and particularly for the longest time that it has been under this format, dating back to 3, maybe 4 predecessors of mine, the Community Board did not, intervene in free speech per se. Information was floated to the board. The board made the decision that it was important information to be shared to the public so that people wouldn't be caught off guard, as is the duty of the Community Board, and it was done. Now, there have been several narratives about what went down, largely false, but what was done was in line with what we've always done, and it was really about making the community aware of initial plans to close the park, which was the role of CB2. The subsequent decisions to not close the park with things that were beyond CB2's control. And at the end of the day, no one within the catchment of CB2 was adversely impacted by a decision that others can determine whether to be true or not. So that's the answer for that. And as chair of Community Board 2, I'm fine with the way we handled it. Anybody else have any other business? I see several people on the line who may not be members of Community Board 2. So if you do have questions, you can either reply to everyone in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Fantastic. So in spirit that I love to do, this is the part of the meeting I get most excited. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Happy Thanksgiving. And we'll see everyone in December.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Have a blessed Thanksgiving, everyone.
Have a delicious